Break the board sports. Click that like, hit subscribe. College hoops on the hardwood. Got 4 games going to touch on real quick. Let's get into them. Michigan, number 6 in the country, heads on the road to TCU. Right now, Michigan 8.5 at DraftKings, 9.5 at FanDuel. 159 and a half your over under. 70% of tickets, 90% of the handle going to the over. 30% of tickets, 10% of the handle going to the under. Now, Michigan, they're getting 81% of ticket count, but it's only equating to 35% of the handle. TCU only getting 19% of the ticket count. They're in this one. Again, Michigan 6-2 ATS over their last 8, 7-1 straight up in that same time frame. TCU 3-6 straight up its last 9, 1-4 ATS its last 5. They've played to the under 4 of their last 6 games when playing a Big Ten opponent like Michigan. Michigan's went to the under 4 of their last 5 on the road. Now, TCU, they're 16-4 straight up their last 20 at home. Michigan comes into this 2-0 straight up. TCU 2-1. TCU with that bad loss right off the cuff against New Orleans. Michigan, they were in a dogfight. Remember, I gave out Wake Forest plus 50.5 3 nights ago in their last game, and they only won that game by 1. I think that was a little bit of a wake-up call. Now, look, TCU's brought in transfers. Their problem was shooting the basketball. Brought in 3 good transfers that can shoot it. The problem for TCU is they can't create their own shot offensively, and their backcourt, their wings are really small. You talk about the length of Michigan. I'm not a guy that wants to run out and lay 8.5, 9.5 on the road. But listen, the lean is Michigan or nothing. I do like Michigan if you put them in any kind of money line parlay situation with like the Lakers or somebody tonight, put you a little 3-teamer together. I think that's a good way to land. But for me, I'm not playing the game straight, but if I was, it would be Michigan or nothing. Battle of Georgia. Georgia Tech at Georgia. Georgia laying 50.5. Now, 53% of tickets going to Georgia, 47% Georgia Tech. So you say, oh, it's pretty even. Interstate rivalry. Got it. Sounds good. But the money's not matching up that way. 81% of the money is laying 50.5 with Georgia. 19% of the money is taking the 50.5 with Georgia Tech. Now, both these teams come in 3-0. Difference is Georgia 3-0 ATS, Georgia Tech 1-2 ATS. Now, head-to-head, these teams met last year in Georgia Tech, a game Georgia won by 8. Georgia's taken 7 of the last 10 matchups between the two teams. Georgia Tech, in their 3 wins, they haven't really played anybody. They had that game against UMass Lowell, or Maryland Eastern Shore, rather, that was a little closer than you would like, and they only beat Southeast Louisiana by 10. So a little bit, reason to pause there. But listen, Georgia hasn't really played anybody either. They just beat the same team that Maryland Eastern Shore. Georgia Tech barely squeaked by them, and Georgia turned around and beat them by 65. So, 94-29. Morehead State, nothing really there. So neither one of these teams have really played anybody of any substance to this point. Now, when you look at points per game, Georgia Tech is averaging 66.7 points per game, as to where 40 points more for Georgia. But again, a lot of that has to do with competition. 52 is what Georgia Tech's given up. 56 is what Georgia's given up. I think that's more comparable, what they're giving up defensively, more than what they're giving up on the offensive side of the basketball here. Again, you got an interstate rivalry. You got a team laying 15.5. I think Georgia's better, but is Georgia a 15.5 point favorite over anybody, or should they be a 15.5 point favorite over anybody? I definitely got reason to pause there on that one. I think when you look at the game again, Georgia's got a lot of speed. They want to get up and down. They want to press you. Georgia Tech trying to kind of rebuild that program, get it back going to where it was in the glory days. Again, I know everybody's going to want to point to the Maryland Eastern Shore game and really draw comparisons into that as to who you're going to lean with in the game. When I look at this, though, I just think at the end of the day, 15.5 is just an extreme amount of points when you got two teams that are pretty comparable, right? You don't have one team that's like far superior, better than the other one. Again, I think when you look at your handicap, rely on that defense. Georgia giving up 56 compared to Georgia Tech giving up 52. I think that's the best stat you can pull so far this year out of it. Georgia Tech hasn't looked as good as Georgia from an offensive standpoint, right? And played maybe a game or two closer than they should be. But again, the lean here is for sure for me. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bet Georgia Tech. That's going to be a play for me today. Looking at another game, Gonzaga, ranked number 21 in the country at Arizona State. Gonzaga 6-0 ATS their last 6. They're 15-2 straight up their last 17 road games. Now, when you look at Arizona State, they're just 3-12 straight up their last 15 games overall. And to make matters worse, Arizona State is 1-9 ATS over their last 10 games. Arizona State also is in just a precarious situation here. They're not returning any starters, which a lot of teams in the country aren't because of transfer portal and whatnot. But what's concerning is they only have 2% of the minutes back. So I get that you're not returning starters, but you're not returning anything to the table in this. Now, Gonzaga comes in 3-0 straight up, 3-0 ATS. Arizona State 2-0 straight up, 1-1 ATS. Last year in Gonzaga, Gonzaga won this game by 8, 88-80. Gonzaga, they really impressed. They beat the brakes off a really good Creighton team earlier this week, 90-63. They beat Oklahoma by 15. This Gonzaga team is really, really good as to where, Southern Utah and Utah Tech is all Arizona State's played. And they really didn't, they beat them by 15 and by 17, but they still by no means did they blow them out. Again, I'm not going to lay 14 on the road ever. I always make a case for the dog, but I just can't make a case for the dog in this one. I'm going to stay away from Arizona State. Game, as far as the sides go and the totals on this one, again, 14 and a half in a couple spots, 59% of ticket count going to Gonzaga, 41% going to Arizona State, and the money is split 50-50 in this one. Here's the game of the night. Arizona ranked number 5 in the country, UCLA number 15 in the country. Click that like, hit subscribe. Arizona was a 3.5 point favorite. There's a 3.5, there's a 3, and there's a couple 2.5s, kind of all over the place. For argument's sake, let's just be in the middle and call it 3. Arizona's gained 66% of ticket count, 56% of the handle, 34% of ticket count, 44% of the handle going to UCLA in this one. When you dive into the handicap, Arizona 5-1 straight up over its last 6, 6-2 straight up over their last 8 games overall head-to-head with UCLA. UCLA 4-1 straight up their last 5, but 1-4 ATS their last 6 games. Arizona, their program always gets off to a fast start in November. Over their last 20 games in the month of November, 16-4 straight up. I gave them out against Florida there at the beginning of the year. They were able to get home and cash that ticket. Both of these teams 3-0 straight up, but Arizona just 1-2 ATS. UCLA 0-3 ATS. Now, these teams rivals from the old Pac-12 days. Last year when they hooked up in Arizona, UCLA actually got the win 57-54 in a really good game. Now, again, I gave out that Arizona plus 3.5 against Florida earlier in the year. They beat them 93-87. Since then, Northern Arizona and Utah Tech, no real resistance, have been the last 2 games for Arizona. UCLA, they've beat Wisconsin, Green Bay, beat Pepperdine, beat Eastern Washington, but really not, Green Bay, they won by 19, but only beat Pepperdine by 11, only beat Eastern Washington by 6. So, a lot of things there you're looking at like, they haven't really been impressive thus to this point. Arizona averaging 90 points per game so far this season. UCLA 79. Defensively, Arizona giving up 67.7 points. UCLA giving up 66.3 points per game here. Obviously, when you look at Arizona, they got all kinds of talent there, man. This is a team, as usual, they have national championship capabilities with the teams that they have out there. I will say this, UCLA, again, very much a run-and-gun type team. Nick Cronin, he's going to be always preach defense. This is a really hard game to bet in the handicap, but I'm actually going to go with UCLA plus the 3. I know they won by 3 at Arizona last year. It should be a good revenge spot. A lot of people are going to lean Arizona the closer it gets to game time. I'm going to take UCLA plus the 3 for a small play. Again, all your college basketball should be half units. We're way too early in the season. You'll make your money come conference time. Click that like, hit subscribe. Break the Board Sports, where we help you become a better handicapper. God bless and happy handicapping.